We like to think we're rational decision makers, but decades of research show that human thinking is predictably biased. These biases aren't random mistakes, they're systematic patterns in how the brain processes information. What is cognitive bias? Cognitive biases are unconscious and systematic errors in thinking that occur when we interpret information and make judgments. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman showed that these biases arise because the brain relies on mental shortcuts, or heuristics, to deal with complexity. They help us decide quickly, but often at the cost of accuracy. This leads to what researchers call bounded rationality. Our decisions are rational, but only within the limits of our cognitive capacity. Aware versus unaware bias. Some biases operate outside our awareness, often called cold biases. Others are hot biases, where we recognize the influence but still go along with it, like optimism or social pressure. Either way, the distortion happens automatically. Why biases matter? Cognitive biases don't just affect everyday decisions. Research shows they can also contribute to mental health conditions, including depression and psychosis, by shaping how people interpret experiences, emotions, and intentions. In other words, biased thinking can alter perceived reality itself. Key types of cognitive bias. Confirmation bias. We favor information that supports what we already believe and dismiss evidence that contradicts it. Modern research suggests this bias isn't always irrational. In complex, uncertain environments, it can help us maintain computational meaningfulness, a coherent understanding that allows action. Optimism and pessimism. Bias. Optimism bias leads us to overestimate positive outcomes and underestimate risks. Pessimism bias does the opposite, giving negative information more weight. Studies show these biases influence areas like privacy decisions, health behavior, and risk-taking, especially online. Overconfidence. Bias. We often think we know more than we actually do. Research on metacognition shows that confidence judgments depend heavily on how questions are asked, not just what we know, making self-assessments surprisingly unreliable. Probability and exponential bias. Humans struggle to reason about probability and exponential growth. We tend to underestimate rapid growth, misjudge risk, attribute errors to a single cause. But research shows these errors arise from multiple interacting factors, not one simple bias. Social biases and group thinking. Biases don't live only in individual minds. They operate socially. Examples include bandwagon effects, framing effects, naive realism, where we believe our view is objective and others are biased. In political contexts, this fuels polarization because we assume opponents know we're right and disagree anyway. Cognitive bias and psychopathology. In clinical research, specific biases are linked to mental health outcomes. For example, depression is associated with negative implicit memory bias. Psychosis involves biases like jumping to conclusions and emotional reasoning. ADHD combined with psychosis shows even stronger bias patterns. These findings highlight why targeted metacognitive interventions matter. Can biases be reduced? Biases can't be eliminated, but they can be managed. Research shows that brief education can reduce exponential bias. Explaining reasoning to others exposes hidden assumptions. Structured interventions can improve help-seeking and decision-making. Bias awareness improves outcomes, but only when paired with practical strategies. Cognitive biases don't mean we're irrational. They reflect how the brain evolved to function under uncertainty. Understanding bias isn't about blaming human thinking. It's about designing better decisions, better systems, and better mental health support. If you want more science-based explanations of how the mind really works, subscribe.